Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Russia's fake news law. A bill letting parents sue social media companies. What's next for influencer marketing? As well as the company's recent founding sponsors, new distribution agreements, and financial results are some of the topics that our guest will deep dive into today. He is the CEO and co-founder of QYou Media Inc. Curt Marvis is joining us today. But before we bring you Curt's interview, do me one quick favor and go ahead and just smash that subscribe button, please. Hey, Curt, nice to see you. Welcome back to The Dive.
Hey, Cassandra, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about yourself?
Good, good.
Okay, so let's dive into it. We've got a lot of ground to cover today. TikTok and several news organizations have decided to suspend operations in Russia in response to its new fake news law. How closely are you following the social media patterns as the Russia-Ukraine crisis evolves?
Well, you know, look, the Russian-Ukraine situation is horrible, obviously, and it's tragic, but it really hasn't affected our business. You know, India is somewhat isolated from that. You know, obviously it affects the entire world, so I don't want to say someone's isolated from it, but I mean, in terms of the day-to-day stuff, much less so than I would say Europe would be, in terms of Europe being, you know, basically right next door. And even India not being, as an example, a NATO member or any of these sorts of things. So India is really not, which is where so much of our business is affected. Sorry, I got the police going by outside.
That's okay.
India is really not as affected by that. So, and TikTok, of course, was banned from India because India is in a dispute with the Chinese. So a lot of Chinese apps were taken from India. So that hasn't really been a major impact area for us that we've seen in our business, and I wouldn't really expect it to be.
Now, recently, a California bill was introduced that can let parents sue social media companies for children that become addicted to social media apps. We have to ask, do you think it's the platform's responsibility to prevent children from using social media? How challenging of an issue is this for the government?
Well, you know, I may be a contrarian in this regard, but I think it's really the parents' responsibility. I mean, you know, kids can always find out a way to get around things through their friends or other ways to do that. I mean, it's just remarkable. I still have teenage daughters, and you know, I mean, there's tracking apps and things to follow them, and where are they and what are they watching and all this stuff. It's very difficult because they always find ways to get around the system. And, you know, I think it's also extraordinarily difficult with the volume of usage that you see on a Snap or an Instagram or TikTok. I mean, how in the hell are they supposed to keep up with policing every piece of content that goes up there? It's massive and technologically impossible from my point of view. So I think it really, at the end of the day, I mean, I think there should be, you know, it's a very fine line between free speech and abusive, you know, speech and inappropriate. So I don't know. I guess I'm not the person to really judge that. So I think in terms of kids, it ultimately comes to the parents. That's what I would say.
Now, Curt, in your view, what will influencer marketing look like in 2022 and beyond?
Well, I think influencer marketing is going only one direction, which is straight up, really. And a lot of that, I think, even happened partially through the 2-year COVID period, when even TikTok exploded. Instagram started to push Reels more, which is sort of their TikTok lookalike thing. YouTube and YouTube Shorts started to push that. And for anyone who's, you know, 25, 30 years of age or younger, you know, using these apps on a daily basis with massive amounts of engagement time and consumption is part of their daily life. And so what are those apps driven by? They're driven by influencers. And what are marketers looking to do? They're looking to reach targeted audiences and communities. So I believe influencer marketing, which maybe even as recently as 2 or 3 years ago might have been an adjunct thing that a brand or advertiser was adding on to their marketing program, I think now it's you don't do a marketing program and you don't talk about what you're doing on social media with influencers. It's a standard operating procedure to do that now.
Now let's shift to QYou Media. You just announced that the Q Marathi has secured India's top national advertisers, including Pepsi, L'Oreal, Ricket, and Himalaya. What are the primary factors that scored QYou these types of clients?
Well, I mean, this is just a huge example of the synergies and the lift that we get now that we've got a very well-established channel in India. Our Hindi channel last year, from literally 1 year ago till today, added 50 advertisers. And those 50 advertisers were primarily blue chip household name advertisers. They may not all be household names here in the US. Himalaya is an example people may not know here in Canada and the United States, but it is, I think, the largest homegrown pharmaceutical and wellness company in the country of India. So these are major companies. Obviously, everybody knows Pepsi. Reckitt, people may not be familiar with. It's a German company that's one of the largest fast-moving consumer goods companies in the world. The point that's important is that these companies came on board on the Marathi channel in 6 weeks. That's how long it took us to get them on as founding sponsors. Wow. It took us 3 or 4 years to get those companies to jump on board and advertise with the Q India. And now that we're launching more digital channels, now that we're starting to get into, in the future, I'm sure, app-based content, et cetera, it's the relationships that we've built now and that we have with these companies and their understanding that we're delivering an audience for them, which is young India, that's very hard to get to. And so we're providing value to the brands and advertisers and agencies, and they see that and they're coming. So at the end of the day, what does this all boil down to? It boils down to revenue, and that's why we're so excited about it.
So the company announced that its Hindi language youth-oriented channel, the Q India, has successfully been awarded a new distribution agreement from April 1st, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. How will the Q India expect to benefit from this new agreement?
Well, everybody, and I shouldn't say everybody, I'll say that many people know that in India, you have to renew distribution agreements just like you do for channels everywhere in the world. And we do the same thing. With Free Dish, there's what's called an auction that occurs every year in the first week of March. We first went onto that platform last year in conjunction with a couple of other key distribution agreements, and that's really what exploded our brand and our audience. At that time, we reached about 5 million people a week in India. We now reach over 100 million people a week in India. And Free Dish is a big part of that. Free Dish is also targeted most in terms of what's called Tier 2, Tier 3 in rural India, which is a very, very fast-growing segment in India from an economic standpoint and a huge part of what we're trying to get to. But perhaps the most important point of the Free Dish announcement is that what are the so-called Big Four. These are the channels that are run by Sony, Disney, Viacom, and a company called Z in India. These are the Big Four channels. They would be equivalent in the US market to ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, okay? All of those four companies decided to drop their distribution on Free Dish, okay? Why did they do that? It's a very complicated and complex answer. The short answer is that those are pay channels that were really taking advantage of a situation to be able to run on a free platform, which is not really supposed to happen. And so there was a lot of controversy around that, a lot of disputes that were arising as a result of that. And so they said, okay, we're going to step off of this platform and not get into that, all of that. As a result of that, we expect to see a major uplift in our viewership, because Free Dish is a platform, it's the single largest platform in India with over 40 million homes that they reach, and it's growing, it's fastest growing platform there. And so now we're going to receive some sort of significant bump in viewership on Free Dish. We obviously don't know what that is yet, because this all happens on April 1, which hopefully won't be April Fool's Day for us. But we do expect to see a significant uptick in our viewership. And again, uptick in viewership means uptick not just in brand equity and power of what we're doing, but it's also translates directly to revenue. And so we expect a revenue lift to accompany this occurrence on Free Dish.
Well, the company just published its Q4 2021 financial results with record-breaking quarterly revenue and over $6 million cash on hand. Where did this strong revenue growth come from, and how are you going to leverage this result outside the Indian market?
Well, we basically talk about having 3 business units in the company. One is what we call our channels business, which is the Indian channels that we run. We have Chatterbox, which is our Indian influencer marketing business. And then we have here in the United States, the QYou influencer marketing business. All 3 of these businesses are related in that they all revolve around elements of the creator economy and social video and short form content, et cetera. And they're all designed to attract youth audiences. Every single one of those business units hit an all-time high in Q4 of last year. So they're all growing rapidly. We're actually investing money. We're taking that capital now and investing in the growth and the further growth of all of those businesses. We expect to see significant revenue increase in 2022 over what we achieved in 2021. We have not announced that guidance of any sort yet. I imagine we will at some point here along the way in the next couple of months. But we're confident that we're going to see a dramatic increase in our revenue in 2022 over 2021. And we think, just in short, we think we're in the right place at the right time, and we have the right metrics in place to continue to experience a steep growth trajectory going forward.
Okay, so lastly, Curt, what should investors be looking out for with QYou over the near term?
Well, I think, one thing we'll be all interested to see is what the impact on Free Dish is on our ratings, our so-called GRP, gross rating points, as we get into April. It's not going to, you can't judge it off of one day or 1 week or 1 month even, but it'll be an indication in April and May of the impact of that. Is it going to go up, 5% or 50%? We just don't know. So that's going to be something to watch. I think you'll see that we're going to continue to build our brand equity in India with more content and product launches going forward. And I think you'll see that, a big push for us is that we currently, as I said, reach over 100 million people a week. Our goal in 2022 is to get that number up to 200 million. So when we get to those kind of numbers and that kind of scale in India, then we're getting to the point where we're starting to reach the goal of not just increased revenue growth and increased brand equity, but also really starting to become a powerful brand on a pan-India basis, which is where a huge amount of value will come.
Definitely. Well, it's all sounding great. Thank you so much for joining us again and coming on and giving us the update, Curt.
Yeah, great to see you.
You too. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll be back again tomorrow, but in the meantime, you can hit that subscribe button so we can keep making you these great videos.